brothers and sisters of Local 391. My name is Chele Fulmore. I'm a 24-year package car driver, 24-year Teamster, and approximately a 16-year steward.
Hey brothers and sisters, my name is Chris Cecil. I work at a UPS in Greensboro. I'm an almost 15-year Teamster, roughly 6-year steward.
The purpose of this video is just to educate our members on the operation of bylaws. So, informative decisions can be made. Chris, what is a bylaw?
Well, Chele, within our union, we have the structure set up as follows. We have the international union at the very top. They have an international constitution, and the individual local unions that are affiliated with the IBT have their bylaws. Their bylaws are simply just their rules and regulations that govern how the local union is run.
And any member in good standing can propose a bylaw. Let's use this as an example, and this is just an example. Our local have recently purchased 2019 Dodge Chargers for the officers and agents. And according to the current bylaws, these vehicles can be used for personal use. Well, if you had a member that thought maybe that should be eliminated or restricted, they would submit that in writing with 7 members of good standing signing off on it. And bylaws have to be proposed in September and March. Okay, they have to be read at both meetings, Raleigh and Greensboro. Then the month afterward, it'd be ready once again. So it's in September, it'd be ready to get in October. If it was in March, it'd be ready to get in April. And then the following month, the rank and file will vote on it. So if it's in September, they vote in November. If it's in March, they vote in May. Now, Chris, if I don't attend union meetings, how I know this proposal's been proposed?
Well, first of all, Chele, you need to go to your union meetings. Rank and file democracy does not work if the rank and file don't do any democracy. Now that being said, we know life happens. People have their kids' ball games or other engagements. Sometimes they can't go to every meeting. We get that. But just like those periods for the bylaw submissions in the spring and the fall, the local union also publishes a newsletter in the spring and the fall. And every bylaw change that I've ever seen in my almost 15 years has been in a newsletter. It's been published beforehand. And this was sent out this week. Most of you have already gotten, and some of you will be receiving it next week.
Is that people people just lay to the side and never read?
Yeah, sometimes it winds up in the trash. Sometimes people don't take a look at it. But, one very important thing about bylaws, within our local, 2/3 of the members have to approve a bylaw. It's not a simple up or down vote.
Come on, Chris, not another 2/3 rule.
Yeah, Chele, unfortunately, brothers and sisters that work at UPS, many of us are very familiar with the 2/3 rule in the IBT Constitution, which let our contract be implemented. However, I will assure all of you, and read for yourself, there is no such 2/3 bypass or loophole or any way to circumvent that bylaw vote. It is a simple 2/3 majority to approve that bylaw.
Well, that's good to hear. But brothers and sisters, we see how definitely it is important that we look at our newsletter that come along, because there's very important and informative information that's in it. But we had some rank and file members that have followed this procedure and have submitted bylaw proposals. One proposal is that they would be filling vacancies on the bylaw committee, and also that the committee would meet every 2 years. Now, what's the purpose of the bylaw committee?
Well, Chele, the bylaw committee simply exists to interpret the bylaws. It's supposed to be made up of 7 rank and file members. If there's a dispute or a problem with an interpretation of the bylaws, they are kind of complicated to read. The bylaw committee is charged with taking that situation or that complaint, interpreting it, and providing a decision to the executive board of membership.
Okay, all right. Well, the first proposal that has been submitted is that it would increase the disability benefit from $2,000 to $3,500. And it also would close a loophole that some of our brothers and sisters that's on workers' comp or disability will also be eligible for this benefit. Now, the second proposal is that it would change the structure of the pay for officers and agents. They will receive no greater than the top pay of a UPS package car driver. But for those of you who are not affiliated with UPS, let me just give you a brief description of the work that the UPS worker does, and even including our part-timers. Most of the times, even the buildings that the part-timers work in, they're not heat or air. Our UPS employees have to work in the elements, and it's very physically demanding work. We're definitely using our joints and wearing them out to make a decent living for our family. So it's a very demanding and physical straining job. But anyway, the officers and agents, it has been proposed that they make what a top rate of a UPS package car driver. So they would get 40 hours a week. Now this is excluding the trustees. They would get 40 hours a week straight pay at UPS top rate. The president and the secretary treasurer would get 12 hours guaranteed every week at overtime rate. The vice president and the recording secretary would get 9 hours guaranteed every week at overtime rate. And the BAs would get 6 hours guaranteed every week at overtime rate. Now, we do need to make mention that according to the current labor agreement with the, a package car driver is only guaranteed 40 hours a week. Overtime is not guaranteed for our package car drivers. Chris, you mind doing the math for us?
Sure, Shell. So just so all of you are aware, the salary information, we took that from the LM2 forms. Those are put out every year. That's mandated by the Department of Labor from the U.S. government. We'll include a link to that stuff in the description below. This is all publicly accessible information. So under this proposal, the President and Secretary Treasurer, they both make, right now, about $105,000 a year. That would be increased to about $113,000 a year. That's a net increase of 8%. Currently, the Vice President makes about $94,000 a year. Under this proposal, that goes up to $104,000 a year to a net increase of about 11%. Right now, the Recording Secretary makes $83,000 a year. Under this proposal, that goes up to the same pay rate as the Vice President, $104,000 a year, for a net increase of 26%. The business agents, they make around $87,000 a year. Under this proposal, they go up to $95,000 a year for an increase of about 10%. Thank you, Shell. One thing that I'll also mention, the trustees were included in this amendment, but currently they're only paid lost time. They're paid lost time for missing work to attend the general executive board meetings, or if they go to any functions representing the local union. They make between $7,000 and $10,000 a year. There's really not that significant of a change to how they're paid under this proposal.
Well, Chris, what's the proposed pay rates now? How do they get a raise now?
Well, Shell, right now, if the membership feels it's appropriate for the executive board and the agents to receive a raise, a member in good standing would have to make a motion from the floor. That would have to be seconded. That motion would then have to be passed by the membership president. Excuse me. And much like in our bylaws, there would then be notice put in this newsletter that more folks need to read, advertising that pay increase. And it'd be 2 months out, and everyone would have an opportunity to vote it up or down, simply yes or no.
So if we got another administration in, they just couldn't walk in and give themselves a $50,000 raise?
No, sister, that's very unlikely. I'm not going to say that's impossible, but if an administration were to attempt to give themselves some kind of massive pay raise like that, it would have to be advertised again in the newsletter. And members like us would be responsible for holding them accountable and making sure that didn't happen.
So brothers and sisters, we see that we have these proposals that's on the floor. And of course, they've been structured the way the bylaws outline for them. And they will be voted on at the November meeting. November the 9th in Greensboro, North Carolina, and also in Raleigh, November the 16th. But I'd like to give a special shout out to the UPS part-timers, because during our contract, a lot of people gave you a hard time about not voting. We weren't one of those people.
No.
But you part-timers, you have a very large voice collectively, and you guys really need to come out and make your voice heard. You are also a part of this local, also a part of this union. If you can't get out, get with your steward, or get with another full-timer. Full-timers, we need to make sure we bring our part-timers out so they can cast their vote also. And with that said, I will see you November the 16th in Raleigh, North Carolina at 10 a.m.
And I'll see all of you in the Greensboro meeting at November 9th at 10 a.m.